Hello YouTubers, so today I thought I'd bring you a video to show you how I did one of these. So the new one we're going to make today probably won't look the same because I like them to look different. This hasn't been fired yet, it's still in its what I call vulnerable state because I wanted to do some mica powdering on him, which I thought I'd do him at the same time as the new one that we're going to make today. Okay, so let's get started. So just get one of my tiles. I'm just going to push them over to one side for a second. Now when you start it, what you want to do is make sure you've got 3 colours, which is all I use for that one. That one, the colours are fairly similar. So I thought this one, I would have a go at using 3 different ones. So these are the colours I came up with. This colour was from my scraps, just added them all together, so it's turned out to be quite a nice colour. And these 2 were just in my boxes, just 2 colours, if you can see. So we've got 3 colours. Do make sure that they match together, don't throw something in there that looks a bright colour because it won't match them, which means your dragon won't end up being the right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get the shape of the dragon. Now I'm going to use this one because it's much more of a softer, it's very soft, I don't know for why. So I'm assuming it's got high pigment clay in there somewhere. Like I say, this was made up out of all my oddments. So, okay, let's get started then. So what you want to do is break a piece off. Now I like to give mine so it's not completely flat, just a rough outline of how I want my dragon to look. So I'm going to start with the neck. So I'm just going to stick it down on there. Goodness me, I think the cats are playing out by our doorbell. Okay, so that's pretty much how I really sort of envision him. Okay, so you don't want it to be too fat, but at the same time you don't want it to be too thin because I like mine not to be completely flat. And then with your knife, just cut the shape that you want. Just sort of make those edges a little bit more predominant, that's all. And sometimes it's easier to cut the shape with your knife and then sort of flatten around it than it is to do anything else. Okay. There we go. So now we're going to do the head. And we're just going to make it again like we did a little bit more. Make the head the same as what we did with the body. So make sure it connects onto the body. But you want the general shape of roughly like that. So you've got the top of the head there. These are rough, so please don't feel like you're defeated because it can be a little bit tricky. So literally make sure it sort of joins on there. This is going to be a little bit bigger than my other one, but that's okay. It means it's easier for you guys to see. Now I don't worry too much on whether or not the back is stuck down too much because I shall leave them on these tiles and then I shall cook them on the tile. And take them off after I've sort of cooked them. So you just want to make sure that they're joined at the neck bit here. Okay, we're going to cut out under the chin. So we're going to cut just that bit there. Again, you can make it any shape you want to. Doesn't have to be my shape. They're very personal, I think, dragons. I think any clay work can be very personal. And it's just really what sort of thing you like. And what shape. Now I'm a bit of a dragon fiend. I do like my dragons. I more than like them. I love my dragons. So it kind of gives me a little bit of a passion to do them how I like them. Okay. So that's how pretty much I want the shape of my dragon. You can see it's starting to sort of come together now. Now down the back here, I always put a line of just down to about here, so that when I do his when I do his horns, it's got some sort of backing to stick to. I don't want it to end up cracking off, if you like, when it's on top of the box, because these are going to go onto wooden boxes. I've got a bit of a dragon theme going, so just make it into a nice sort of shape like that, and then check where you want your horns to come to, and then just literally roll it down the back until it gets down to about a little bit, like about there. I think is enough. Is nice enough for me. Okay, so remember, make sure it's joined, because you don't want it not joined, because when you take it off the tile after you've cooked it, it will crack off. So as long as the top part is joined, when you take it off the tile, just be a little bit on the careful side, because you, like I say, don't want to crack it off. But at the same time, it's I mean, I should be putting mine on my box, so I shan't worry too much. Let's just take it off really carefully. Right, now I like this bit to be quite thin, so now I'm going to cut it down this bit here, following the contour of the body I've already got. So you can see it's fairly thick right now, so I'm going to thin it out a bit more, and what will end up happening is I'll probably end up having to cut it again, because I don't want it too thick. This is literally just for the purposes of holding onto the horns, which are obviously very important. So I'm going to cut it again, and sometimes you might have to cut this 2 or 3 times to get what you want, the shape you want. Okay, so I'm just going to go around and do it again. It's my birthday coming up next week, so if I get any arts and crafty stuff, ladies and gentlemen, I shall show you on my unboxing it, so you can see how lucky I've been. I'm very lucky. My family knows how artsy crafty I am, and they support me, so like I say, I'm very, very lucky. What I'll do is, this one I will do making it in one video, and then we'll mica powder them in a second video. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with that now. Make sure it's nice and flat, because this is just the back plate. That's all this is. Okay, so with a pointy tool, we're just gonna draw on where you're gonna have, where your lines are gonna come to. Okay. I find that easier, then it's easier to stick to roughly where you sort of got your, where it all sort of comes to. Okay, so the mouth, you want to make it a little bit sort of dug in, but not ever so dug in, just a little bit, so it's, you can tell where the mouth is. Keep it neat and tidy, because when you put it, the top coat, the top layers on, you'll be able to see underneath where you've done your all your bits. Right, okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do this chest plate here. So what we're going to do for that is roll it and put it through the pasta machine. Is that what I did? Yeah, put it through the pasta machine. I think there's cats outside playing in the snow. So this one is actually quite a lot fatter, so I'm just going to take off. He's got a bit of a belly going on. Just the edge in there. So I don't really want him that fat. Although he's going to end up, because now I've got a ridge there, so I'm going to have to sort of reduce that down. Okay, so we'll go with that, I think. So first things first, I like to split this bit into two. If you can see there, I've got the first bit there, and then I've got another line there, another line there, and then the back takes over with those. So the first ones I'm going to do are that, just roughly. Then that gives me that I can split into two again. Yeah, so it's going up the contour of the dragon's sort of back. Make sure that doesn't come too low down. Silly, now I've got pointy marks in it. Okay, so this one I'm going to cut strips. So I'm going to cut a strip. Let's move that back to start with. Like so. And then to make sure that they're all the same width, just decide how wide you want it. Try and get it the same sort of width. Like so. At the end there. And then we're going to start putting it on. So we're going to start at the bottom, because each layer laps over the other layer. Okay. So I'm going to try and keep it as straight as you can. And then with your knife you're going to cut round the hair on it. Now it's on my dragon, look. Where does that come from then? Dog hair, I guess. Okay, so you're going to cut round the contour of the belly. Like so. Any pattern work we've got to go on it, we're going to put it on afterwards. That now should leave you with a, can you see the shape? I'm just going to push this one out of the way because I don't want to catch that one. And that should now fit over the top. You don't want it too far over the top, but you do want it far enough that it's going to look like it's like armour. If it doesn't look completely right and it's just hanging over your edging, like mine was just now, just give it a trim. And then just put it all back over there. Okay, we're going to go along in a minute and just tuck it underneath like that. And just sort of gently tuck it down. Don't push it too hard because you don't want it to sort of mix together, if you like. So there's another one. And just keep literally going up there until you get to the top, like that. Try and make sure that you cut them, not like I've just done, cut them long, like so they should be touching the tile or your work surface, whichever you've used. And then literally just keep going up like you've, try and get your spaces a little bit even so they look relatively the same. Like so. There we go. In fact, you can cut both sides if you need to. And then we're going to, like I say, tuck that under in a minute. And then I think I'm going to put one more on the top there, if I can get it on. So I think that's going to be a little bit too long. So once you've cut the shape, just take it off and just cut the top off. There we go. And that fits on beautifully. Now if you can see, I've got a little like corner bit here. Try and zoom you in a little bit. yeah, I've got a little corner here. So with the end that you've just finished using, just try and cut a piece to go there. It's not very easy, but if you start and cut, so there and there, so that's, I know, okay, so they're my bits that I've got scrap. Now, well, don't forget, we'll tuck those bits under in a minute, so that'll get rid of the way it looks there. So follow the contour round, that'll give you a cut. And then I'm just going to cut this back off because it will probably be in the way. And then just cut that back off there. If you feel like it's a little bit short and it could have done with going, just sort of gently push on it and it will go. Right, so in this front bit here, we're just going to push it under. If you can see, that works really well. I'm very pleased with that. We'll put the pattern on afterwards, we'll put it on in a bit. So if you can see that now, he's now got his front sort of armour on, front plate armour. And then just make sure the back of it doesn't overlap too far, because that's where we're going to put our next row on. And then if you feel like it needs to stand up slightly, just pop it. I mean, you don't have to use this tool, you can use a cheese cocktail stick. That would work just as well. And then just make sure like that. And then just try and keep your work as clean as you can. Just rub your finger along it and something like, you know, because it will impact on how your dragon looks at the end. Right, so I'm not going to use that colour now. I'm going to finish with that colour. I'm just going to move my other dragon up out of the way, because I'm going to end up, stick him over there. I'm going to end up putting my arm on him and I should be devastated. Okay, so the next one is, I'm going to use a light colour, I think. Oh, I did condition these, but they've obviously gone quite stiff. So I'm just going to ping it about for a second. The softer it is, the easier it is to use. Okay, so on this back bit, I did little, like, bumps, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a whole piece down there. So just roll it like a snake or a worm, and then just see how thick. Yeah, I feel like it needs to be a little bit thinner, so just a little bit. Try and keep it even if you can. The way to do that is to use a piece of Perspex over the top. I'll just show you. I have got a piece of Perspex, but it's gone very odd and very peculiar, and I don't use it now. But let me show you there. So if you get that over the top, and if you do that, it's all going to be the same length, same thickness. Apart from, see, look at that, beautiful. So maybe I should use it more often. So I'm going to cut the end off to make sure it is nice and square. I'm going to go down to about there. Now I can tell straight away, oh, you can't even see it, that end is slightly thicker. So I'm going to zoom you out so that you don't miss anything else. Right, so I know I need a little bit more pressure this side. There we go. Now that to me is very, very pleased. So I am now going to put it, rather than the other one, which is what I did on the other one, look, if you can see that there, that line there, just down the back of this, that one there, look. So instead of this one, this time doing it like that, I'm going to put an entire row in, like so. Because I just want him to be a little bit on the different side. So each one can be different, and it's entirely up to you what you want to do. It really is entirely up to you. Okay. So I'm just going to tuck that up. I don't like how that ends there. So I'm just going to snipple it off just a little bit there. Just to round it up. There we go. Okay. Put that with that. So now I'm just going to cut the end off. I'm just going to hold my clay in my hand, if you can see that. Just sort of holding it in my hand, because the softer it is, the easier it is to use. There we go. And then, like I say, we'll put all the designs on afterwards that we want, all the patterns. I just found a little piece. And what he's doing. Okay, so the next one that I did, if you can see that, it's just a row of triangles, one on top of each other. So now let's do that one next. Now I'm going to use, make sure that's all joined up. I think I'm going to use the darker one for the next one. So again, I did recondition it, but it's gone very hard. So that's okay. So it's up to you how you want to do this one. If you're going to do like I do, put triangles one on top of the other. Make your triangle like so. Flatten it down a little bit. A bit big. And start at the bottom. That's really important, especially if you're doing like overlapping ones. Okay, so starting at the bottom. The bottom of them, I don't like the bottoms of my triangles to be stuck down, so that they're free to, so that they're not, I don't know, I just like them so they stick up. And now pretty much all you've got to do is do that all the way up to your top line up here. So what I'm going to do is pause the video, and I'm going to come back when I've done that, so that you're not sort of watching me do something that's just repeated over and over. So I'll speak to you in a second. Right, okay, so I've done mine, as you can see. Now what I didn't mention before was, if it overlaps this side, don't worry. All you've got to do is just run your knife down that one edge, and it will just take the edges off of each one that you've made. So, and then just literally just pull it off, she says. Or you could just rub it in like so, because it's not like it's going to be an issue, because that is just your base for your horns. Okay. Try and keep all your colours together, and then you won't waste any, which is very important. Certainly in this crazy times. Money are tight for everybody. Okay. And then just literally rub your finger down that one edge, and then it'll just take out any lumps and bumps, because you don't want it higher or lower or anything like that when it comes to doing it. Yeah, I've got one on there. I'm going to take that off, because that literally is on my bottom part of my horn is going. There we go. So it just tidies it up, no end. You've got to keep tidy every step you take, nice and tidy. Okay, so right, I'm now at a point where I'm going to start the face, start the head. So the first thing we're going to do is put the bottom jaw on. Decide what colour you want to do. I'm going to do mine in this sort of this darker colour again. Okay, so this time it's got to be fairly neat and tidy. Now you don't want too much, because you don't really want that much of a hump there. You want it kind of a little bit on the flatter side. Make sure everything's nice and neat. And then literally you're going to flatten out your grey. Now this isn't such an easy bit, this is quite fiddly, because you need to be able to know where your line goes. So try and get it roughly to the shape that you want it. And then kind of use your knife to watch your fingers, of course. I know mine goes quite thin up the back there. So you're just literally cutting a very rough outline. Make sure it's sort of fairly flat because you don't want a great big sort of lump there. And then bit by bit, turn it upside down or whichever way you're comfortable working. And then follow the top line, not the bottom line, because the bottom line is going to be easy enough to cut out. Okay, so that's where it ends. So that's where I'm going to cut that there. So just make sure that that is now pushing it down where it should be, on the top. Okay, so now you can see, if you just gently lift up this side, you can see where your contour line is. So it's easy to cut away a small amount and then push it down, because don't forget, once you cut it away, you're going to be left with a ridge. So just gently push that down, because again, you don't want it too thick. And then if you find there's like the odd bit here and there that's you're just not happy with because it's just a little bit too thick, just cut it away. It doesn't matter if you cut any of the underside out with it. That really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure you followed the line like so. So little bits like that, you want them to meet where you've got the next part starts. So you don't want a gap there, otherwise it'll just look really peculiar. Well, you might want a gap there, I don't know. That's entirely up to you, isn't it? But for me, I don't want a gap there. Okay. So I'm just going to use, just to make sure all this up here. Sometimes if you use a brush, that can sometimes make it much smoother. That's a bit big. Let me get a smaller one out. I've been doing other projects, so half my brushes are missing in the other room. That doesn't matter. Another good one to use are... that one should be okay. But again, these good ones are these in the other room, I think. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be there in 2 ticks. Small one. Okay, so these are pretty good to use, and you can use brushes. So you want a fairly small one, or fairly thin. And if you just brush it, it should take out any imperfections you've got. And it's doing it with my this bottom piece here, like so, because it's a very soft clay. And then afterwards, not too heavy, and then it will just sort of look like it's meant to. Okay. Now with this one, I'm going to just push it up there because I don't like too much of a neck. Make sure you keep your armour lines in. Oh, I've got a piece of glitter in there, look. You can run your finger along it, that should straighten it out a little bit, like so. Not so easy under here. So like I say, just use a brush. Sometimes a bit of a more sterner brush will deal with it. And then that bit there, I'm going to just kind of mix it in there. I don't want that going down though, so I'll just push that back up. So you've got some sort of ridge there, but I don't want it to mix to that extent. So there we go. So that's the first bit. So that's his mouth on. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is the top half of his face. Okay, now this has got to overlap this bit slightly. Actually, what I might do is put a piece in for his mouth and then put the top piece on, because it will make the top lip stand out slightly. So just a thin piece. And then we're going to put the detail on in a minute. I'm going to run that all the way back because I like to see the mouth line all the way back. Okay, so I'm going to flatten that out because I don't want it stuck up. I just want it flat. And whichever one is the best one, and I think I'm going to cut it. Okay, I'm going to use my blade because I don't want it very thick. I just want a thin one. And then if there's any other bits that you're not happy with and you can't get your blade in there, just use your knife. Obviously I'm not going to use all of that. I'm probably only going to use the front part of it. But I don't want to cut it off because I want to make sure I've got enough. So what you're doing is just laying it on top of the line you've made for his mouth. Okay. And then you're going to follow it round, just like we did before. And I'm going to take mine right to the back. So that is just going to sit nice and flat. And then when we put the top half of the face on, you're going to be able to see it's going to raise his top lip up, which is what we've done on the other one, which I'll show you now, so you can see. So just tuck it down. You want it nice and flat. You don't want it sort of raised too much. I'm going to use that. Just make sure you keep your contour in line though. You need that mouth line so it's sort of fairly predominant. Okay. I like mine to go down to a bit of a point there. Sometimes I did on the last one put a horn there, but if I can get away with using his actual mouth line, so don't forget to put that back in. Okay, just pull it down to a point. That's it. Now this is quite an easy dragon, and I've done the video so that everybody can have a go at doing it. I've made it in such a way that it doesn't matter whether you're a first beginner or whether you're somebody who's been doing it a dab hand for years. It really doesn't matter. Anybody can have a go at it. And if there's anything that anybody thinks they can make it a little bit easier for me, please do put it in the comments below, because it would be nice. There's always other ways of doing things, and it would be nice to see how everybody else does it as well. And I'd like to see some pictures. I know people in the past have put on there that they'd like to send me pictures and show me, but they can't figure out how to get it on. I'm afraid I can't help you. I'm rubbish at that sort of thing. Okay, so now we're going to put the top of his head on. So this bit, you want it slightly thicker but, well, maybe not. Don't worry about too much where the eye is. We're going to use that afterwards and put that in after, and you can make your choice where you want it then. It's just so in comparison we know where to draw our lines. Okay, so now I'm going to just go through and I'm just going to cut a straight edge. So I've just cut a straight edge. I was going to show you actually. Okay, so on this one, if you can see, so we've done that bottom line now, we've put the mouth in. Well, the lip, we want that. So this top part now is going to overlap. If you can see. Okay, which we're going to do now. So we're just going to make sure it's long enough. You don't want it too thick, but you do want it thick enough. I don't know whether this is going to be big enough. Alright, let's have a look. No, it's not. How frustrating. How many times does that happen to you? Because it happens to me a lot. I've either got bucket loads or I've got not enough. So let's try that again. Right, so we're going to flatten it out. Oh, there's actually a little bit of sparkle in this, look, if you can see it. That'll be something to do with my granddaughter. And trashing my desk the other day, she found the glitter out on my desk. And it's supposed to be like a pepper pot glitter, but she managed to tip out a whole pile full, which was very frustrating, but it took me about an hour and a half to clean it up. Never mind. She was having fun, so I don't mind too much. Little monkey. Right, so now we're going to try that again. Now we can cut around the contours of the outside lines, not a problem. And this, you only want it to go as far as this back piece here. Do you remember our line that goes around? So going to follow it around. Oh, that's quite thick actually there, so let's just flatten it out slightly. Right, here we go. So we're going to start at the front, and we're just going to, you don't want it to cover the whole thing, you just want it just to go around where it's like so. So you can push it into place afterwards. It's not easy, it's again quite a fiddly bit, but you know, we sort of manage. And then afterwards you're going to use your line tool and just put it back in a line there. See, I want that to come down slightly lower there. So just literally rub it downwards, and then you're just going to push it upwards or cut it out, it's up to you. Like so. Oh, there's my front door again. Just waiting for delivery today. It's birthday month for me. I've got all my babies, all my children, all their birthdays, and other family members with their birthdays in December, which wasn't very well planned. But then we have February, which is an absolute nightmare month, because there's a lot of people out of our family as well, pretty much all the adults are in February. Right, now you can feel going round, so you know this is going to come up like this, because it's going to follow the contour line. Okay, and then we're going to go round, following the contour line round with it. It doesn't have to be perfect, because we're going to figure it out in a minute. Anything that overlaps and goes downwards, which it does a little bit, but nothing major. Okay, so I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, so now let's tidy up this top line here. And I've got another dog hair in it. Right, so this here either needs to come out, or you can put a line in it. So like so, and then just rub it in, sort of mix it in. Okay, and then if it comes down lower in places, pull the clay down and do try and follow the line that you've put in. So like so. Alright, beautiful. See, so if you just take your time, that's probably my biggest thing that I say, in all my videos is take your time. If you find that it's stuck down too low at the front here, just trim it off. Trim it off of your actual, when you put the lippy bit in. So just take that out. Like so. And then, well, that's not worked either, has it? See, it does happen to everybody, and if you say it doesn't, then that's a bit of a fib, really, because it does happen to everybody, and sometimes it is frustrating, but at least with clay you can take it out and you can put it back in, so you can either add or remove. Okay, so there we go. So you don't want too much of a sort of standy out because they're... Okay, so just going along that contour line now, just making sure it's nice and deep, because that's your lip. Now at the back, don't worry too much, because that's where you're going to start putting horns on the back, which we're going to do in a bit. So there you go, so that's the mouth, which I'm very, very pleased with. We're going to put some patterns and whatnot on it, so don't panic too much if it doesn't look exactly how you want it to. It won't matter too much, because like I say, we've got some patterns going on, we've got the eye to go on as well. Right, so the next thing we're going to do is his eye, because I think that's the next sort of part. So his eye I'm going to do in a different colour, I'm going to do it in this red. Okay, so you're just going to peel off a little bit, you don't want masses. This is quite a soft one, so I'm quite lucky. The only problem is with doing it in a different colour is you can't mix it. You can't like, you can't sort of join it in. So I don't know whether I'm just making myself hard work by not doing it in the same colour. No, I'm going to stick to the same colour, I think. I might do the horns in the darker red. Otherwise I'm just going to cause myself loads and loads of grief. So the first thing I'm going to do is my yellow eye. So I like a yellow eye, a bit partial. I'm just going to look in my yellows, see what I've got. Okay, I've got a bit of a darkish yellow there. So I'm just going to peel myself a little bit off. And then I'm going to add a little bit of dark, of the darker, only a smidgen. Just a smidgen, and I'm going to just pop that through the pasta machine so it mixes, because I want I don't like them too light, and this one's quite an orange, so I just want to darken it down just a smidgen. I might have put too much black in it though. I do have white if we want to lighten it up. The other one that I've done has got quite a light eye, so bear with me. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so this is what I've been left with. Okay. Right, I'm not so sure I like that. Looks kind of like a dirty yellow, which for me that's no good. So we'll start that again. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of this. We're going to mix it with a little bit of light, maybe. Okay, I've got a little bit of light there. Got a bit of pink because I don't want to cut any white off. So we'll see what happens to that. This is where it goes into the funny colour, and we end up with 15 balls of different coloured yellows, and none that we particularly like. I do have gold, but I think gold might be a bit dark. Right, here we go, it's starting to mix now. I can still add any more yellow to it if I feel like it needs it. There we go, it's getting dark, it's getting lighter, it's mixing now. Okay, it's still quite yellow, but I think it'll be alright. If you can see that. That's just a little bit of light pink that I mixed in with this very pale pink, which I use for skin. Okay, so that's what we're left with, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to roll a ball of it for the eye. Make it kind of flattish, but not. You want it in the eye shape, so that when you put the outsides on, it kind of gives you that nice line. So that sort of shape. I'm just going to stick it on where you think it looks, where you're happy with it. Okay, so I like mine to just start just before where the nose comes. So I'm going to stick it like there. It's good enough for me. That's where I like mine. Like so. I'll just check to make sure that's not too big. Bearing in mind it's only a little bit there, you're just using this as the base for the outsider bits. Let me show you what I mean. So if you can see the eye, and then I used the shape of the eye then to get the outside pieces on there. It's like an eyebrow and whatnot. So I'm going to do the eyebrow in black again because I want to keep that the same sort of colour. I'm going to do the top of the eye first. So just roll out a piece. You don't want it very thick. Well, you might want it thick, it's up to you. And then we're just going to take that down to the back there, like so. Now I'm going to put my stripe in my eye because that's very important. Just bring that down. So the stripe in the eye is just a very thin piece, very, very thin. Just pop it on. I think his eye might be too big, you know. I'm going to make that a bit smaller, I think. I just feel like it's a little bit on the big side. Okay, that's better. I just felt like the last one was just that little bit too big. Okay, so now we'll do that again because I like that. And just hold it up and look at it and make sure it's what you like. This one's going to be quite a calming one, whereas the other one looks a bit more. Okay, so don't forget the middle of your eye. So just pull that back and just lay it straight down the middle, like so. Nip it off with your knife. Just down there. Ooh. Make sure it's nice and even, and then wrap your eyelid around your top eyelid. Okay, now I put a couple on my other one, which I'm going to do again. This one I'm just going to straighten that out because I like the contoured, like nice sort of sharp line on it at the front. I think what I might do is just zoom in a little bit so you can see really what I'm doing. We're going to go through in a minute and put on, oh, there we go. Okay, so we're going to go through in a minute and put on all the, start putting on the details on there. But first off, I like to just get everything that I want on there. So we've got a lighter, a small, thinner line, thinner line because I like that. So like so. Just tuck those two together so eventually they kind of mingle together. When you've done the hardest part now, the hardest part is definitely the face. Getting everything where it should be, that is definitely the hardest part. Okay. So that now allows for you to come along now and start layering it up how you like it. So I know that I like, you can add different colours to it now, because this is the part that's a little bit more on the fun side now. You get to decorate it in. Like so. So just make whatever shapes you really want to, and then I just like so. And then when I come along and do my shaping in a bit, that'll work really well. So just turn it, check it, see what it's like. It's really definitely a softer red. Like I say, that must have had a bigger pigment in it at some point, more of a pigment, which are more of your golds and bronze and things like that. Anything sparkly, it just has that slightly higher pigment in it. Right, what we're going to do, so make it thin, the one end that you're going to put down here, because you don't want it too bulky. Okay, there we go. Keep it on the contours. I know I keep saying about it, but that is something that's really, really, really important. Right, so I'm not happy at this front bit here, so I'm just going to shave it with my knife. This is the nice thing about clay. It doesn't matter if you can add more, you can take it away, you can do, there's lots of things you can do with it. Okay, so I've got 3 layers around his eye now, which I'm very happy with. I'm quite happy with that. And then down the top here, I'm going to put some dots down the top above his head. Although, that's where the horns are going to be. So if I just put, it doesn't look very good, does it? Alright, let's not do that then, because when we put the horns on, I was just thinking, I might put some more on after we put the horns on, we'll see. I'm just going to mix that in there. There we go. On a nose, not in red, of course, we need it in the black. Well, it's up to you. I prefer a nose in the same colour. Well, that's just me. So I'm just getting myself in a pickle with all the colours. Need to keep them sort of separated. Okay, so we're going to do this. So you want a piece that you're going to flatten out. So, and then on the very tip, you're going to make a hooky shape. And then we're just going to pop that on the end there. Now, this side here needs to be, see, just sort of white and sort of made like, just merged in, if you like. Don't want it too wide. Don't want it too big. Well, you might want it bigger. That's entirely up to you. like so. You can use any tool for this sort of job. It's entirely up to you. This wonderful weather we're having today. How many of you have been out playing in the snow? My granddaughter's been out. She was out very early apparently this morning, going around the block where they live. She's loving it. So my daughter, she wanted to go and play in it, but she's getting older now, and that meant too much like aggro to get out of bed. I just want to move that mouth up if I can. There we go. And when doing so, I've lost my, that's alright. I'm going to push that back up like that, and then I can put a horn under. I should have done that to start with, I think. Right, okay. Tidy up the bottom. Like I said, tidy as you go. Otherwise it will end up that you won't like the shape of it, and it'll be difficult to tidy up afterwards. Right, so that's what we've got so far then. Very, very pleased. So that looks like it's been squashed now. This is the trouble with softer. It's great to put on, but you're more likely to catch it. There we go. Right, so we're going to start putting on some horns now. So we're going to do the back ones to start with. So decide what colour you want to do it in. I'm going to use the red for my horns, I think. So it's up to you how you do it. Now I like a horn to come at the bottom. Now these have got to be some oh my goodness, I don't know where my words are today. They've got to be round, if you can see that. It's got to be completely rounded and pointed on the end, like so. So I'm going to pop that on the end there, because I always like one to go on the end, under the chin. So you need to make sure it's attached but not mixed as such. Right, so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that one's too big. So I'm just going to cut it that way, and then I'm going to come along and cut it that way, so it's a lot smaller. Yeah, that's better. I like a smaller one, perhaps down that way. Right, so I'm going to put a couple over the top of his nose. Now these don't have to be hugely big. That's entirely up to you, of course. I don't like his lip. I don't know. We're going to have to look at that, I think. Although, oh my goodness. Okay, so you're just going to stick it on where you think. Whatever size you like is up to you. And this is where it gets exciting now, because you're near the end as to what you're going to do. I don't know if you can see me there. There we go. It gets very fiddly, this piece, this part. Oh, very fiddly. Right, it's on. So you just want to, just the end, so not too much, just enough around so it's attached. Ooh. If you can get your finger in there, just give it a rub. If not, don't forget, paintbrush works very well. There we go, look, it works beautifully. If you can see that. So the next one's along, I like to change the colour, and I'm going to go with the lighter one for this next part. Now these get a little bit on the bigger side because they are starting to get round to his main part. Not massively, unless you want to do it massively, that's entirely up to you. Okay. So I like that one to go there. And we're going to put some lines and whatnot on these to make them to have that kind of look about them. I'm just going to flatten them on because I want to make sure they stay on. But we're going to do some very nice detail on that in a minute. I mean, you might not like the separate colours. If you don't like the separate colours, do it in the same colour that you can see. A bit of a ridge there, I don't like it. There's always a tool that will help and do what you need it to. In this case, it just takes that ridge off. And then the next one. I apologise about my heavy breathing. It's because I have asthma. I'm sure you've seen in other videos where I've left my inhaler by accident to one side, so I do apologise. Okay. To get a good point on him, if you pull, if you just sort of pull it like that, it should, so it brings up a nice sort of point. Okay, so it's going to start getting a little bit easier now because you're coming out from behind the eye. This one's still going to be a nuisance though. So I'm not too worried about the mixing it in because we're going to put some decorations along there. We're going to put some little blobs of clay and we're going to push one inside the other. That's how we're going to get our very, very nice markings. Also, don't worry too much about any of this marking on here because when we put some on in a minute, it's going to look and change the look of it. So I'm going to take this all the way down the bottom here, so it gives us our first layer of horns. So what I'll do is I'll pause the video, go all the way down the back here with the horns, and I'll come back and we'll go from there. Right, So I've done my all the way down the back here. I did leave a space at the back of the head here because this is where I want to put my first horn, which is going to go to the back. Then I'm going to put all my other ones on, and then the second horn's going to come here. So the way I've done that is 2 balls of clay, make them the same size, and then roll them so that they're the same size, like so, and then I square mine off. So just push it down slightly, roll it, push it down slightly, roll it again, push it down slightly, roll it again, push it down slightly, and you'll see it starting to come into a square, or sort of with 4 sides, which is what you want. Okay, well, you might want to do them round. It doesn't make no difference, you can do them round. It's entirely up to you. I prefer the square ones because it gives it some sort of different definition to the other sides and the other horns, which are all round. So, okay, so when you're happy with what you've got, okay, then you're just going to take you could use a cocktail stick, any tool really that's pointy. Okay, and then we're just going to square it round. Now this can be quite awkward because it's square, not round. And you want to be getting 1, 2, 3, 4 lines roughly on it. Like so. And then just take it nice and slow, otherwise what will end up happening is when you come round to meet up around the other side, it won't meet. It'll be in a different place. So nice and slowly, like so. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. You can go back over it afterwards if you want to, just to make sure it's nice and indented. You don't want to do it so deep that it cuts it off. So that's literally how we're going to do mine. Okay, so if I just zoom in just slightly, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So I've got 2 now, that's sort of shape, so I'm just going to move it over, and this gap at the back of the head, if you've put one here, just peel it off if you want to and put one there, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now I'm just going to bring it up and onto there because I really want it to stick. Okay, now it doesn't matter if you can see the lines here on this one, because you're not going to see much of the this undercolour once you get all the next ones up on, the next horns along. Okay, so then bend it in the way that you want to. So I like to bend mine down and then bend it up, like so. That's probably lower than the other one that I've put on, but that doesn't matter. Right, now I'm going to put on the detail of these ones, because once you put the next layer on, you won't be able to do it. So I like to use the back of my knife, my craft knife. Up to you, you can use a tool like this or cocktail stick, whichever you want to use. But what I found was that dragged, and I don't want that to be the case. And then literally I just put lots of lines in it, like so. Remember to use the right side of your knife, because you want to make sure that it's not cut it, you're scoring it. Now it doesn't matter if it drags bits up and whatnot, you want it to look oldie worldy. So if you can see that, how we're doing. So I'm just going to move down and just kind of carry on. I'll do the top ones in a moment. It's a very quick job. You don't want it, I mean, I like the really sort of rough and whatnot. It just gives the horns a good look. So when we put the next layer of horns on, we're going to do the same. The next layer of horns I like to do it in a different colour. And then the top layer of horns I like to do in this colour again. So you see what I mean? It doesn't matter if it's sort of showing, because where you're scoring it, it's just sort of messing it up and whatnot. Like so. Right, I'm going to move that horn before I use it to put my waist on it. So I'll put it up there for now. Move that down so you can see. If it starts to really sort of cut away, just push against it and it will go back in and seal itself again. Okay. That's the top one, well, bottom one. So now I'm going to turn it around so I can do these ones here. Always turn your work, and then you won't, it's always better to turn it than stretch over. I'm not doing that many lines on this one because I like to keep them not so, I like it to have that sort of square definition, and that's what really I want to be able to see. Like so. There we go. Just using the back of your knife just to score it, not cut it as such. Okay, so we're going to go along and score these top ones now. And we're going to go ahead and get on with the next level, which I'll show you the first one, then I'll get on with it and we'll meet back at the end. Try and remember to get all the sides if you can, otherwise you'll just get one side, and then when you turn it round you'll look at it and it'll be the other side will just be a bit of a pickle because you won't have any scoring down that side. So turn your work each time. It doesn't matter if it's got little bits around where you've been scoring, just leave them there, and then you'll be able to just pick them off when the when you've cooked it and baked it, or you might like them, so leave them on there, so whatever you don't mind, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I'm on the red softer ones now, and then on the nose. It's quite soft, so just to be aware, if you, I'm just going to cut that bit off. If you use that, just to be aware that it's softer, so therefore it doesn't need such a hard, scoring. Okay, and I'm just going to do this bottom one on his chin. I'm using the wrong side of my blade and it was cutting, if you saw that. Okay, so that's that done. So the next one we're going to do is the next row of horns, which is just going to be here. So I'm going to pick my colour, and for these ones I think I'm going to use the red. I like the red. So the first one we're going to do is exactly the same as what we did before. So I tried to make them smaller than the outside ones because you don't really want them protruding past them. You want them to just you want it to just sort of, like so. You want them sticking up, you don't want them sort of let down and attached. And then just try and attach them if you can to the bottom there, like so. Like so. Okay. There we go, and there's your first one. So what I'll do, meet you at the bottom, try and get as many in there as you can get, and then we'll go from there. Right, hi folks, so this is what we're down to now. This is what we've got. If you can see that, we're doing really well now. So I've put one of the horns on, but I'm not completely happy with it. I feel like it's just a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do is pick off that last bit and then just turn that into a point on the end. Like that. That's better. And I might just put a mark in it there. Obviously, if you put a mark in that, it's up to you how long your horn is. That's better. As far I prefer the shorter one, I think. But if you prefer the longer one, that's up to you. And I did take the I sort of scraped it like these ones, which I took out of it because I just felt like I wanted mine plain. Okay. So now all that's left really is to put another layer of horns on. But this time the horns are going to be quite small and they're going to fill up any gaps that you can see, basically. Just make sure those two horns are separate. No two horns should be the same. Okay, so it's up to you what colour you choose now. Now I'm going to go back to using this colour because I like this colour. The other thing I think I might do is take off that because it doesn't really line up. So if I take that off, I can just replace that with a horn. And then all we've got to do is just put the stuff on the front of his face, and then we can start putting some texture into the front, and then we can go from there. So I think rather than doing anything else, I think I'm going to rub some liquid clay down the middle there, so it sticks it rather than trying to rub it. Just want a thin coating of it, just sort of about it, all the way up to here. And don't forget your second horn's got to go on at the top here, so it's got to go parallel to the other one. Okay, so I'm probably going to put my next horn on now, but I'm just going to break that end off so it's the same size. Turn it into a point on the end, like so, and then just roller so it's the same. Otherwise it won't look right if it's not. Sort of smudge the liquid clay around. So now you've got like a 3D effect now, because this one, which you can squash down into it, because don't forget we're going to be putting little miniature horns around here. Okay, which you can feed into the middle of him if you want to. You can see the one behind it. So basically you're just going to use little horns now, and you're just going to pop them wherever there's a space, like so. If you can see that one there. So what I'll do is I'll come back to you when I've filled in every gap that I can find, and then we'll start on the face and then we'll get some colour on them. Okay, speak to you in a minute. Right, okay, so I've put lots and lots, if you can see, of spikes all down my back. Put the second horn on the top and put them between the horn. Now it's up to you if you want to take any more down the front of his head, down there, but I don't. So I'm going to carry on now with the next step, which is we're going to start working on his head. Okay, so I like putting little, very small amounts. Let me get out my, where are they? There. I use these. Now these are fantastic. These were fairly cheap off of Amazon. Don't have to spend a lot of money. I think they were £5 something. And what I do is put a very small blob, very small piece there, and then sort of dip them around quite close to each other. Actually, what I might do is put them along his lip line. So they'll be going along there, tight up to the last. All different sizes, you don't want it all the same. Like so. All the way along his lip line. That gives his top lip then something to go on. All the way down to the front here. Smaller ones and larger ones. And then what I do is pop a different colour, which I'm going to use the lighter one for this. Okay. If you want a very, very small amount on the top, you only want a very, very small amount to just sit on the top like that. And then I come along with a small, oh, not that one, that one. Oh, I think that one's a little bit big, so second from last one is the one you want. She says, hang on. That's the same size I just picked up. Would you rather than use it? Well, that one. Same size again. Oh my goodness, what am I doing, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so I'm going to use the smallish one. Well, smallest, I think it is. What's that green one there? Is that the same as that one? Nope, there we go. That's the one we're looking for. Okay, and then I just push it into the top. And then go along doing that. So, actually I do that, push that down like that, and then go along, and I like to just push the middles in, not with that, with a pointy. So you could use a cocktail stick or something like that. Straight through the middle again, and so forth. And then I do that all the way along. And they're quite larger than I would normally do them. Normally they're a lot smaller. I think it's because it's a much larger dragon than I've done before. Okay, I've got a bit of a gap going on in the middle there, so I'm going to use just a very small piece of rounded one. Put it in the middle there. No, that's still too big. It's all about proportion, size, and what you like. So I'm going to put one there, look, and then another one, and so forth and so forth. And then when I get to the end, I can either use that as a hole maker, which actually works nice, like so. Don't keep it, don't make it too uniform, because obviously scales on a dragon aren't uniform. So pretty much like that, like so. I mean, you could do it if you wanted to, one per one, but I quite like the different textures to it. If you can see that now, see how his mouth is starting to build. It gives you, sweep it downwards. I don't want that to catch. And my cat's fighting now. Well, not fighting, they play fight, which sounds awfully like fighting. Right, so I'm going to finish this all the way down here, and I'm going to do the same sort of thing over the top of the eye. Oh no, I might not actually. I'll finish this one and then we'll go from there. Alright, speak to you in a minute. Right folks, I've done that round his mouth line now, if you can see that. That works for me. Now if you want to, just make sure that you've got the mouth line going on here. Just run your tool around it, just to give you that, so you've got that sort of smiley bit back, so that you're not sort of losing it. Like so. So he's got a visible mouth. Oh, sorry. Okay, so now he's got that smiley bit. Now, what I did for texture on my other one was with a larger piece. I might use the next size up actually, rather than the very small ones, but I will use all three. So all three sizes, if I bring them up to the camera. I mean, you can use anything you want to. They've got holes in the ends. I start off with the larger size, and I literally just gently imprint is what you're doing. All over. Doesn't matter if they overlap, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, there's no hard and fast rules. And what this will end up doing is looking a little bit like scales. Okay. right up to, get right to the edges all over. They're not very easy to hold on to, so do try your hardest. I mean, you could make some of these if you wanted to use a piece of card rolled up, would work. Okay, and I'm going to flip it round because I want to do it on only the part above his eye. I don't want to do it on his eyebrow because I like to use a smaller one on that sort of area. So just, if you can see a little bit showing, have a little go at it. Okay, and then you can see, carefully go over his nose and down the front of his mouth. So I like to do mine, like I say, with three sizes. But I will only be using 2 sizes, and it'll be the 2 smallest ones on his eyelid and under his eye. So I've just used that one, so I'm just going to put that one to one side, and I'll go to the next size down, which actually is easier to hold. For some reason they've got longer. So I'll just carry on round here, because this is where I am. Sort of facing this way already. And it's just a case of going over the top. Up his nose. Gentle on his nose, otherwise it would go out of shape. These are actually hurting my hands with my arthritis holding on to these. Ow. It's because they're small. Okay, and I'm going to finish off down here. Here, I've got some going on there. I'm going to just make sure his nose hole is like so. And you're literally just marking the clay, because what we're going to do is mica powder. I was going to do it in a second video, but I think I'm just going to tag it on the end because it doesn't take many minutes to do. I'll just show you on one, and then you can have a go. Okay, so now I'm going to use the smaller one, and we're just going to do exactly the same all over. Remember, you're just marking it, you don't want it too sort of detailed, you just want enough. Okay, so I'm going to call that fine. Okay, so under here I've used this one just to go up here, and I keep them very unified, very like so, and then the same, like if you can see that, taking it up, splitting off onto this eye, because he's got 2 eyelids. Try and keep them separate if you can, and then turn it round and take it up the other side, up the other eyelid, the middle one. And then back down on the outer eyelid. I like to have a little bit more uniform going on with these ones. And then with the littler one, we're just going to pop it into the centre. It just gives it a different texture. Okay, and then again back down on the other 2. Pay sort of nice detail to it, take it nice and slow, and then when we use the mica powders in a bit, it will look fantastic. Okay, so that's what we're down to now, which I'm very pleased with. And I'm just going to run it underneath this eye here. Under the eyelid. No, under the actual eye. Okay, so this is what we're down to now. If you can see that. Oh, if you can see that, we can... The detail in the eye. Okay. So now we're going to do these two pieces. Okay. So before, what I did was just did dots all the way down them. But I think I'm going to use the biggest circle, well, one of the biggest circle ones, like that. That might be too big. Let me see the next side down. Is that the same? I can never tell which are which. Oh, the blue ones are minute. I didn't realise we got little blue ones in there. Oh my goodness, they're so small I can't even pick them up. There we go. If you can see that. Minute. So I'm going to go just round his eye in the centres of some of them, not all of them. Right, so the white one looks like it's the closest one we've got. So I'm just going to go down, put in as close as you can get them dots. It doesn't matter if they overlap a little bit. All the way down. Like so. And then we're going to use the next one, which is the green one. Just go in the middles of them. Doesn't have to be completely in the middle. It doesn't have to be uniform at all. It's entirely how you want it. It's just how I want it. This works for me. And it's given out a beautiful texture. When we use some mica powders in a minute, that is really going to work beautifully. Okay, so I'm going to use the brown one now, which is the next size down, just big enough to go in the middle. Doesn't have to be in the middle. It's all over the place, it's good. Okay, and then I'm going to use the very, very small one, which I didn't even realise we had. The blue one, thank you. Right in the middle of that one we've just done. If you can get it in there, because it is really small. Now, the only reason I'm seeing this is because I went and had my glasses redone the other day. So I have new glasses, otherwise for my old ones I don't think I'd have seen it. Okay. So, that's what we've got for that. I'm very pleased with that. So the only other thing to do are the lines on here. So, starting at the top, all I did was just gently put lines in. I didn't do it like the when you're doing the horns. I just did here and there. I didn't want to make too many lines on it, so I just making sure it sort of comes out at the bottom, because you can flatten that back down, look, in a bit. And I'm using the cutting part because I don't want it to pull. I want it to just mark. So I'm kind of cutting through it rather than marking it. Try and get it up to the last when you're sort of near. So like so. And keep it going in the same sort of direction. So again, take it down. You can always put extras in if you want to, or take them out if you want to, it's up to you. This one I don't like overly sort of doing it. Okay, and then the next one. And if you can see that, I think it's starting to look fantastic. I'll show you a close up in a second. It's going to look really good with some mica powders on. Take it right to the bottom because you want it to and if you wanted to put a couple more on in between you could do, look. Just here and there. And there we go, it's looking rather good. And then the very bottom one, which is probably the original base, right? No, I don't think it is. I think that's one that we put on. Put a couple on there. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And there you have, that way, oh, your dragon. So as you can see, it looks very similar. It's not the same though. Just a little bit bigger than, let me move and put my camera out a little bit and then you'll be able to see. So this is what we've got. Little and large. Very similar, but not the same. I'm very pleased with both of those. So I'm going to mica powder them now and show you on the biggest one, so you can see a bit easier. Let me just clear a little space on my desk because I completely messed it up now. Okay, we're just going to put all these at the back there because my granddaughter's coming over in a bit. Part of my support bubble, and she will trash my desk. Doesn't matter how hard I try, it always happens. Right, so where are my mica powders, I hear you say? Yeah. So, oh, anybody that knows me knows that I use the, right, let me put that one up there. I use the Arteza. I like Arteza. It works well for me. I more than like it, I love them. So this is a set, I have 60 of them. They do less in a box if that's all you can afford, or at the time if that's all they got in stock, or I mean it's entirely up to you really. Whatever you want to do is entirely up to you, and it's what works for you. So I'm going to look at doing some copper coloured, I think, on the belly of it. So I'm going to find, oh, it's rosewood. It's not quite dark enough for what I want. Oh, there we go. Chameleon red. Yeah, I think that would work. So let me put these up here, so not too far, so we've got them to hand. Now I'm going to use my finger, because sometimes, let me zoom you in, sometimes that's how you get the best result. Let me get you into sort of view first. Okay, I'm going to turn it sideways. Oh, I thought they were going to all fall off then. Dip my finger in it, and I'm just going to gently rush out, like put some over the top. The only trouble with using your finger is getting at the middle of them. So actually, with that in mind, I might use a brush. There we go. So just a little bit, and then just gently over the top, because all we want to do is just literally just put a small amount on. Now don't forget that if you go too hard on your brush, it will mark, which is not something that you need to do. So I'll just put it in, wiggle it back off. I'd rather do an extra go with the brush than end up with a great big splodge on there. Try and get all the sides if you can. The other thing about using a brush that it will do is any bits that are stuck out that you're not happy with or anything like that, it will flatten them. That's my Rottweiler you can hear snoring, it's not me. Anybody who has Rottweilers, or even dogs for that matter, will know. Sometimes they can be awfully embarrassing, especially when you're trying to make a video. See, that's glowing beautifully now. This was definitely a good choice of colour. Because that's the other thing, always pick carefully with your colours, because if you pick the wrong colour, you've taken so long to pick your colour to do it in, what it'll end up doing is it will end up not contrasting with the colour that you've got, and it will just look wrong. So pick wisely and very carefully, and try and just sort of get it over the pieces that you need it to, rather than over the side parts and whatnot, which isn't always that easy to do. Okay, so let me put a lid on that before we go any further, because I'll end up spilling it. Now I might put some around the eyelid. See how that's just beautiful? You can see that. So I might go around the eyelid, because that's the same colour here. And I might do a little bit on the ends. Don't worry too much about getting it on the spikes, because what will end up happening is you'll end up knocking them off. Because they are not, I mean, they're only loosely popped there for the moment. They're not ever so secure in there. So it's definitely something just to remember, try and just do the very tips of them without knocking them off. It's an art in itself, I think. Okay, so we've got, just do the front of it. Now that looks really lovely. If you can see, I just need to make sure, sorry. I think the lighting down this one side, I'm going to have to get my other light out in a second. Yeah, it's done there. Bear with me and I'll get it in a second. Now, be careful, because you don't want to get it too much on the next part, like dropping the dust, dropping the mica powder, which I've done. But I'll get that off when I do the next colour. Okay, let me get the lighting. Right, do excuse me, because it's a lid that's got to go over. I can just put that up here and then you'll be able to see. That's a bit better. Okay, so we want a colour now to go, and put that to one side, because just in case you want to use it again for whatever reason. So now I'm going to look at doing the darker black stuff. So if we look in here, I've probably got, that's called Laurel Green. Well, that might be nice, like it's like a grey green. We'll try that, I think, because a dragon, they're kind of green, aren't they? So I might try and find a smaller brush as well. Need a bit of a finer one, really. No, that works. Just a bit of a finer one, so it just sort of gets a little bit closer. Right, so this we're going to do all of the grey areas. So the darker grey area. Oh, that's lovely. Look at that. I've not actually used this one before. Oh, that's beautiful. It's got kind of a dark greeny tinge to it. So I'm going to go along. I'm not going to do that bottom horn, because I want to do the horn colours all the same in a bit. So I need to get underneath his chin. Just get under there like that. And actually what that's shown up is that I could do with just one of them. Well, there's one inside the other. That one. Just to put, there we go, just to put a couple of extras. Now I want to do his nose. So everything basically that's this colour I want to do. But you're going to have to be very, very careful to get it without getting it on his eye, or on the lighter gold. Actually, with hindsight, I should have maybe started with the lighter gold, lighter silver, lighter grey colour, and then if I'd have got any on the darker grey, it would have just covered. But we've started, so we'll finish. Okay, I think this is the quietest I've been in, I think, since I started doing it. It's because I want to concentrate and try and get all those bits. And once you've finished it one way round, turn the tile round, turn your work around, and just see if there's anywhere else that you've missed. Yeah, did you see that one horn move then? It's going to be interesting painting them. I might wait until they're cooked and then maybe paint them afterwards, but we'll have a go in a minute and see what happens. Okay, and like I say, turn your work around, have a look from different angles, and just see. See, I've touched it with the red back here. Trying to cover it with this one, it's not, oh, it has a little bit. Right, so turn it round and just check. I can see there's a patch there that I've missed. Just in there. I've also got it so it's red up there as well, which I'd like to really get rid of, but I don't think this is going to cover it. No, actually it has. Okay, so I've got this bit here. Okay, and a few little bits under the eye. There. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I am absolutely thrilled with that colour. Like I said, it's not something I've used before, but it's definitely something I should use again. It's lovely. Really pretty. Oh, that's probably a contradiction because it's a dragon and they shouldn't be pretty, but you know. Right, so instantly I can see that I've dislodged one of the horns, so I'm just going to push it back down. She says. Okay, so now I want, I've got black down here, so I'm going to go in with my smaller brush, and I'm going to do these, because these are black. Just a quick coat down them. If you can, just, all I want is just a sort of it doesn't matter if you can see it sort of scenario or not. And then we'll have a look and see what greys we've got. There we go. Well, I think he's looking very, very handsome fella. He's lovely. Right, so now we want a grey of some description. Okay, so we've got the blues. Nice French blue. Oh, we've got greys in here. White. I'm just looking in the wrong part. Hang on. No. Ah, now there's black. That's called Gnaw. Right, there's a dark grey. Charcoal grey. But I'm sure there's some more in here somewhere. Just got to look. That's the trouble with having so many of them in a box. I've tried to sort them out in certain sort of ways, but it doesn't work. Space grey. Which actually I think, which one's lighter? Which one would you say is lighter? This one, isn't it? So we'll go with that one, whatever that one is. Space grey. I don't think I've got a light grey. Oh, I've got brilliant silver. That might be nice. That's much more. Let me put that down. I think the silver one is definitely lighter than the other one. If you can see it, this one's the silver. I think we should try the silver and turn it silver. Why not? Okay, so I'm going to use my brush again, my little one. I'm going to just a little. Dry, always clean your brush, otherwise you end up with the wrong colour. Oh, put too much on now. Let's see if we can eke it down. Right, I'm just going to go gently onto his chest plate because it will give it like, rather than given it the thing of like a separation and them being separate parts, it will like make them like one, so sort of one will mould into the next. Okay, I'm liking that. Wow. Okay, so we've got his mouth is the only other bit, which I want to keep that as a separate. So I'm just going to kind of blopple it on there. Well, that's the word of the day, blopple. My Rottweiler snoring, sorry folks. Right, some things I do want to leave a little bit plainer, which will probably be part of his horns, because I don't want it to look too much. Okay, so this is what we've got now. Oh, sorry. Oh, and if you agree with me, I think he's looking really stunning, really lovely. So what I'm going to do now is the silver ones that are, or the lighter ones that are on the back here, these ones here that we laid out first, I'm going to have a little go at putting a little bit of those. Although I might use gold, actually, talking and saying that. I might find a gold. So let me see what I can find. I want quite a dark gold. Yeah, bronze. Bronze would do it. Or would you use brown, folks? No, I think I'm going to use gold. Right. Oh, wrong brush. So I'm just going to... all I'm going to do is just go along and just sort of tipple the ends. I don't want to put too much on, because I want it to... Sorry, this has been a bit of a long video, but it's not something you can sort of make in 5 minutes. So if you can see that, I think it looks nice. Okay, I'm going to put them on all the back ones. And then the front ones, I'm going to just, because obviously it's not going to be so easy, I'm going to somehow try and figure out a way of just sort of just getting the very ends without knocking them off. Okay, so that's balanced. I might just do it with this gold because I quite like this gold. So see, I was just sort of doing the ends, just here and there. And that's working. It's just kind of giving them a little bit of a just the very tips. It's just trying not to knock them. So it's something you've got to do very carefully. Okay. I think I'm going to stick to the same colour on the ones below it as well. I don't want to really mess it about too much. But I'm feeling like it needed something on the ends. It just gives them a little bit of a definition then. On there. And don't forget you've got to get both sides of it. Don't worry if it drops in between. Oh, just lodge that one. I've used liquid clay on mine, so they will, once it goes in the oven, it will set hard. So if you don't have any of that, try some PVA glue or something like that. It'll make it easier for you to connect them. I can see one more in there, look, sneaky. I'm going to have to just move it to the side. Okay. Just go along and double check you've got all of the ends. Because I guarantee there'll be one or two you've missed that are hiding. This is the trouble with having these. They're very difficult to see. See, there's one in there, look. So now, I think I'm going to do up the edges, up the front edge of the horns here. So up this bit here. So all I'm doing is just gently brushing it on. I don't want to go too heavy, and then the full tip on the end. So it's just basically the same as what we've been doing. There we go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, oh, I've got to do his nose. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a very good attempt at a dragon. Well done, you. Well done, you. I think he's looking pretty gorgeous. If you want to highlight anywhere with some gold, you can do. It's quite a nice, I'm going to go inside his nostril. And then just sort of adding a little bit of gold around here and there, it just sort of pulls it all in together. Like so. I'm a sucker for the gold, I'm afraid. So you've got the silver and then just a tinge of gold on it. That's all you're wanting, just a tinge. And then we're going to go up and underneath these bits here. Just up and underneath, just gives it a gold edging. Again, up and underneath. And then just kind of a like that. Oh, they're lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. The gold is definitely bringing it in a little bit, sort of making it all kind of match. Oh, see, little is more, more is little, little is more, less is more. Goodness me. And now I've got it on his chin. Oh, and I've forgotten. See, it's always got to have a look round because you've got a horn down here that I'd forgotten about. I mean, if you wanted to put ears on them, you can do. You just put them here. Just put them here. Okay, and there you have it. One beautiful dragon. There you go. Sorry about the tile, it's a bit of a pickle with colour. You can't have everything, I suppose. And just have a bit of a white brown so you can see it. So thanks for watching. That's been really fantastic. I know it's been a bit of a long video, but it's been well worth it. Have a go at it. It doesn't matter whether you're completely new to it or been a dab hand at it for years. Anybody can produce this. It is so simple. It's just a case of break each part down as a shape. Don't look at it as a whole. Look at it as a shape. And there you go. I'm going to have this and put it onto one of my wooden boxes. But that's a whole new one for the future. Please hit that subscribe button and you won't miss any of my videos that I release. And thanks again. Bye bye.